Welcome back to First Class Fantasy. This is a First Class Fantasy special. Billy and I are set to win $200,000 tonight. We might actually be winning second place because Billy and I have a monster that we put together earlier this season from the 2-hole. But tonight we started out at the 110, and we grabbed Stefon Diggs based on the ADP. We both wanted Amon-Ra St. Brown, but the argument was he was coming back to us. But Billy, our second round pick turned out pretty good.
Yeah, we always get two receivers here at the end that we usually like. It's not very unique right now at the 2 spot, but you and I have had this discussion several times. No need to get too cute here on the turn. We can get unique at the 3-4 turn and make sure that we give ourselves some separation from the rest of the field. I know our initial discussion was Stefon Diggs or Amon-Ra St. Brown. We were hoping that Brown might make it back. We've seen it happen several times. Brown does go at the end of the first pretty commonly, but sometimes slips to the middle of the second, or I should say the beginning of the second. And it just did not happen this draft. Tango and Cash is in a lot of drafts. We got Tyler Buechler on the end. So a lot of good drafters in here tonight.
And we have our own Bradley Stalder drafting in the 2-hole. He went Travis Kelce. So just a quick recap. You had a Jamar Chase 101. Then you had a Travis Kelce, Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey. Cooper Kupp goes at the 105, Tyreek Hill at the 106, Austin Eckler at the 107, Bijan at the 108. Nick Chubb gets pushed into the first round, goes at the 109. We took Stefon Diggs, a little slightly lower than ADP at the 110. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Sun God, goes at the 11. CeeDee Lamb at the 12. And then the second round, there hasn't been really anything standout-wise. It's pretty much the picks you would imagine. Billy, anybody stand out to you as interesting here in the second round, or this kind of paint by numbers for you at this point?
It's pretty much paint by numbers. I mean, Barkley is starting to climb back up boards. We saw him go at the end of the second for about the last week or so. Dave Hubbard, my draft partner, got him in the middle of the third in the Pros versus Joe's draft last week or early this week at Monday. So it's time for Barkley's ADP to start climbing after finally signing his tender. So I would expect to see him back at the end of round 1, beginning of round 2 here very shortly. And I think that it's pretty common for him to start climbing boards again. So if you did get a discount on Saquon Barkley, glad you enjoyed the discount. We were telling people to buy. We had that discussion about 2 weeks ago on First Class Fantasy. We were telling people to buy the discount because eventually we would climb back up. So here we are. It's climbing season again, and Barkley is now climbing back towards the top of boards.
Yeah, we run pure generally, Billy. I think that, people can keep track and you want to fantasy receipts us and whatever. I think we're gonna. It's we not our first rodeo. We draft a lot and we kind of know the way things are going. You see Ramondre Stevenson go at the 301. So team 1. It's an interesting start to go Jamar Chase and then go. I like the Derrick Henry pick. I don't mind the Ramondre Stevenson pick if you want to go with the running back there, Billy, but I feel like he loses a little bit of an edge going bang, bang running backs there. What do you think of that start?
Yeah, it's pretty common. There's so many Chase, Henry, Stevenson teams. This is where, like, if I'm at the end of, or I should say starting on the tip in round 1 and boards coming back to you, this is where I like to get unique because you can push somebody up half a round there, no problem, and try to differentiate yourself. And it's not like it's going to really change the overall look of your team all that much, but it is going to create some uniqueness to your roster. So that's fine if you want to go Chase, Henry, and Stevenson. I'm starting to cool the Jets on Stevenson just because most of the report we're getting out of New England is that Stevenson said he had too many touches last year. They're talking about adding another back. It's going to be another veteran. They worked out Fournette. The Cook was in the mix. That there's so much smoke going on in New England. It's just bound to catch fire. And we think that Stevenson's eventually will they'll add competition for targets. And once that happens, there's competition for touches. And once that happens, we know Stevenson's going to drop. So at this point, I'd say just cool the Jets and Stevenson. Let's see what happens in the next couple of weeks. And then let's start taking his discount once we do have some clarity.
So we're in a really good spot right here, OTC wise. Our queue right now, we're 2 spots away. The 308's picking. Josh Allen's sitting there, Billy. He'd be auto pick for me because of our Diggs start. We'd have an Allen Diggs connection. I'm not sure if the board's going to allow us to do that. I also like TJ Hawkinson here for the structural aspect. I see you put Keenan Allen in the board. He makes some sense. I put Jahmyr Gibbs up here. Jalen Hurts just because of the quality he brings at the position. I'll also throw DK Metcalf into here. Okay, so Billy, we're one spot away from a Josh Allen start here. This Canadian Raider.
Okay. Josh Allen made it. I think it's a pretty easy lock for me. There's only 3 teams. Or let me see here if there's 3. Right now, there's about 21 teams right now that have our AJ, Dillon, and Diggs start. When we mix in Josh Allen, it goes down to 3. So let's go ahead and lock him in. I was actually hoping Hurts would land there because nobody has Hurts with these 2. Hurts goes a little bit earlier, but Hurts just went off the board, so we're left with Josh Allen. I'm fine with it. Go ahead and lock it.
I love it personally. I mean, I think it's an ideal outcome to get him here close to the 4th round. We didn't have to reach to get our stack. We let the stack fall to us. I think that's exactly how you want to play it. So we get both guys below ADP. And like you said, it's a pretty unique build. It's not – I'd like to think that we're going to put together a better build than the other 2 teams that did this same start. So now we're talking about we're 5 picks away. We got to start loading this queue a little bit more. I'll go ahead and put Jerry Jeudy up in the queue. I know we both like him. I'll put Christian Watson to push him up a little bit.
Yeah.
I do like Jahmyr Gibbs, though, Billy, as our RB1. I think
I'm hoping Gibbs makes it. He doesn't go in round 4 very often. Oh my God, he made it. Lock it.
We're both good with this. Like, yeah, I think this is fantastic value. Jahmyr Gibbs here.
This is awesome. Like, Gibbs doesn't go here frequently.
Well, let's sit there and I know it's 50 seconds to go, but let's just be excited about this. Talk about where you're seeing him going, Billy, like lately.
So ADP wise, he's kind of going at the end of round 3 pretty commonly, like that 3.8 to like 3.10 range. He's climbing though. I've seen him go early round 3 in the last couple of weeks pretty frequently. So to see him go here at the beginning of round 4, it's gotta love the discount.
Yeah, I love it. I really love it. And I think what's interesting is shout out to Fantasy Mojo put out a tweet showing, and our friend Darren Armani, we'll see Darren in Vegas. He's a very good drafter and also puts out a great site in Fantasy Mojo tracking FFPC ADP. He talked about how the main event drafters, the $2,000 leagues, are taking Jahmyr Gibbs higher than the $350 leagues. So like that doesn't always work out. Like I think that sometimes there's a little bit more aggressiveness and uniqueness when you're talking about that sort of dollar figure entry though. And it's always interesting. And I think that in the best ball streets, whether you play FFPC or underdog, Jahmyr Gibbs has certainly been rising. And unlike the Ramondres and ETNs and Breece Halls, there's really nothing to worry about there. David Montgomery can eat and Jahmyr Gibbs can eat at the same time. And Billy, in a best ball format, like you'll take the spike weeks with the receiving back and you don't necessarily have to worry about if he has a 9-point week because hopefully structurally we've drafted very, very well. Quickly want to point out one thing and get your reaction to this. We see Lamar Jackson go off the board as the QB2 at the 302, several spots ahead of Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. We've talked about this on First Class Fantasy, how Lamar Jackson, it's become a big 4. People talk about a big 3, but if you follow the money, it's clearly a big 4 right now. Do you see that, Billy?
Yeah, the draft room, Lamar's been kind of going at that typically after Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. This guy doesn't look like he really cares about ADP right now, though. He took Najee Harris about a full round ahead of ADP. He took Lamar Jackson, about a full round ahead of ADP. So he's either one trying to get unique here and build a roster that's unique from the 3-hole that just people don't have with Justin Jefferson. Or he's just not really mindful of ADP. I don't know. I'm looking up who the owner is right now. What's the team name?
I believe it's Enter the Dragon, but it seems like somewhat abbreviated. Just looking at this, it's an interesting board tonight, and I think that
I don't know who that is.
People get into kind of the uniqueness of boards and trying to. Do you see Dameon Pierce going slightly higher too?
That's like almost 2 rounds ahead of where he's been going in the last week.
We got him. This has been a very busy week, crossover week in the Roto Underworld. But I drafted with the GOAT District on Monday evening in a 350 FFPC draft, and we got Dameon Pierce in the middle of the 6th. Now that's not best ball, but Dameon Pierce in the 4th round, you really, really, really are losing your edge. Yeah. I mean, I think that Dameon Pierce, like Billy's higher than on him than several rankers, but like in this sort of a format, Billy, if he would have taken Christian Watson instead of Dameon Pierce, that build is suddenly looking really, really.
Yeah, I mean, Dameon Pierce is going to come back to him. Like you have Aaron Jones on the board, Kenneth Walker on the board, J.K. Dobbins on the board. The guy in the end already has 2 running backs, so he probably could have taken somebody else there pretty easily and still gotten Dameon Pierce, and then still had the same build that he wanted to. If you go to the owner page, Enter the Dragon is not somebody I see frequently inside this draft. His ownership, his owner name is Be Like Water. I haven't seen that name a lot in drafts. So,
his little avatar is Bruce Lee, so he's very, very loyal to the movie Enter the Dragon, which is actually a classic. I really enjoy it. It would be our friend Dario Offstein. I would bet about $1 million Dario has not seen that one. Like many
look at that! Oh my god, it's got more now 5 picks ahead of ADP. Enter the Dragon is just saying F ADP. I'm going to get my guys tonight, which you have to respect. But
sure,
at the same time, you can build this team and fill in pieces in between. Like he could have had Pierce and Sky Moore plus 2 other players right now in the lineup. I mean, he could have arguably Lamar probably not coming back to him, Najee not probably coming back to him. So you can make an argument that he pushed those guys up to get them. That's fine, because he just wanted to get his guys. But there's a difference between getting your guys and taking them too early. And in this case, it's way too early. Sky Moore is going on average in round 10, which has been climbing from round 11 and 12. You could reach and take him in round 9 and be early and still get him pretty much in drafts as of late. So taking him in round 5, and he just took him ahead of Terry McLaurin. He took him ahead of Drake London, Christian Kirk, Mike Williams, Deontay Johnson. That's a lot of faith inside Sky Moore in this Chiefs offense.
So let's talk about our next pick coming around. Darren Waller stands out to me here at the 5'10".
Yeah. Let's look at correlation real quick, just outside of the players. So we have Buffalo.
Buffalo plays New England
in week 17. They got the Chargers week 16, and then they have Dallas in week 15. So we got to look at all 3 weeks of the shootout. I don't see. Let me see if there's anyone in all 3 of those teams. No. You could Mike Williams on the way back for week 16. That's about it.
This is more of a there goes Darren Waller. I think that we look for correlation with the 6th hole and the 6th round. I think here we're looking for the ideal outcome, Billy. And I know you don't like DJ Moore that much, but here he's kind of makes some sense because you're looking at Drake London, you're looking at DJ Moore, you're looking at a running back like Miles Sanders who stands out a bit. I'm worried about Dobbins being on the pup. I'll throw Cam Akers into consideration, but I think we lose some edge taking him. Who's the highest edge pick right here with 40 seconds on the clock?
Oh, man, that's kind of a tough spot.
It's a very tough spot. So I think we lean into structure more than anything. You have 2 wide receivers.
I don't own a lot of DJ Moore, so I could increase my ownership with this one. I'm fine with it if you want to go DJ Moore.
If it's not DJ Moore, I would lean into Miles Sanders. I'm okay.
Yeah, that was the next one I was going to say. Let's go Miles Sanders. We talked about him on the podcast today. I like Miles Sanders.
Okay, so then that's also an easy team to get a little more correlation with. And I think there's an argument to be made when it comes to these rookie quarterbacks to lean into their RB1 because oftentimes the pass catchers work kind of does not go as expected. And I think there's a little bit of interesting correlation between like a Stroud with a Pierce or a Bryce Young with a Sanders. I think that could be a secondary quarterback for us to lean into that's going to be very, very cheap. So right now I have Drake London, DJ Moore. Let's throw Chris Godwin. Let's throw Deontay Johnson. I think we're kind of pot committed to wide receiver here. Where are you at? Brandon Ayuk also interests me.
Yeah, I don't think we have to lean receiver. I mean, although I'd probably prefer a receiver here. DJ Moore probably on the way back. I'm fine with it. Deontay Johnson interests me.
Yeah, I think for me, we're gonna like the wide receivers. We've taken 2 running backs already, so I feel less inclined to take running back. There's no edge
Yeah,
pick at
there's
tight
no
end.
tight end I like here either. We don't need a quarterback. So the pick is receiver here.
I think it's.
I
I
think
know
it's
you
DJ
like
Moore.
Deontay.
It's a discount on DJ Moore too.
Yeah, let's take DJ Moore, and I do think like he will have some big weeks in that offense based on the running ability of Fields. I know you have some concerns about him in redraft, but I think certainly in best ball he's a value here in the 6th round.
Yeah, it also gives us 2 degrees of separation from the field. So right now we only have 1 degree of separation from 3 teams. Three teams have 4 of our first 5 picks, which is I usually like to be a little bit more unique by this point. If we add DJ Moore, we at least have 2 degrees of separation by round 6.
This is a fun build so far. So just to recap our build, Billy and I started out with Stefon Diggs at the 110, followed up with AJ Brown at the 203. We have some regrets that it was not Amon-Ra St. Brown, but those regrets went out the window when we got Josh Allen to correlate with Diggs. So, like, sometimes Billy, your first instinct's your best instinct, and tonight you end up with one of the best correlation plays you can get. And then in round 4, we got Jahmyr Gibbs at a discount. We got him at RB14. I think by the time we draft in Vegas, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be like running back 11 in main events consistently.
What do you think happens on Thursday night? Because Thursday night is week 1, and for those who are unfamiliar, in high stakes we call it the free look. So we draft on Friday, Saturday as well, and you have the luxury of knowing the Thursday night outcome, of being able to plug that player in your lineup or not plug him in your lineup. That being said, because the game is over, ADPs usually shift pretty drastically. What is your prediction on Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the rest of these teams' players? Where do they land after week 1 on Thursday Night Football?
I think that Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs are both going to be getting drafted higher than people think. I think that the Lions are going to make it a game. And I think the way that target tree is looking, I think both those guys are going to get double-digit like receptions potentially. I think Gibbs might have eight catches. And I think if Gibbs goes nuts, I think he could go way too high. So my take with Gibbs is I want to draft him kind of before Vegas because how crazy it gets when you draft on that Friday. Are you going to draft post-draft on Thursday, or are you taking that night off?
No, I have a draft kicking off right after the game. I think it's the 5K actually.
So that's a lunatic move by Billy Muzio, where it's I've done it before. I prefer doing a nice 10 in the morning on Friday draft. First of all, Billy, it's going to keep your night late, super late. You're going to wake up Friday and you're going to have another draft and you're going to be feeling it. It's such a lit environment when you're in these live drafts in Vegas. I mean, it's amazing.
My first draft on Friday starts at noon Eastern, so I get 9 a.m. So I'll get at least 7 hours of sleep that night, which is
I do at 10 a.m. I do at 10 a.m. I think the morning of the Thursday morning though, I do that 9 a.m. $3,000 varsity.
Yeah.
With and I split that one with Andrew and with Dan. And then I believe we're going to do a four-handed with JD as well, main event. I think that's on Thursday during the day too. And I'm also bouncing around to, the FFPC competitor where we're not going to say their name right now because we're doing an FFPC draft, Billy, and we're loyal to our sponsors. But you probably know the other one, guys. And then so right now you see Alexander Madison go off the board. 7th round Alexander Madison is a little more interesting than where he's going. And I'll say Pacheco went a little bit higher than I would imagine. Anything stand out to you in terms of surprise picks in that 6th round?
No, Enter the Dragon kept it pretty chalk here. He went with ADP. So that's the biggest surprise. So far, ADP's been out the window with him. DeAndre Swift went a little high. J.K. Dobbins has been slipping as of late, and that's about where he's been going. Drake London's been slipping as of late. That's about where he's been going. Pacheco climbing a little bit. So this round 6 is pretty much business as usual, with the exception of us getting DJ Moore a little bit later and the players that I just mentioned. So nothing outside the norm in round 6. So there we go. Brandon Cooks.
I would love a 7-10 Hollywood Brown if he somehow lost to there. I think that we would have the week 17 AJ Brown and Hollywood Brown going head to head in that Philly Arizona game would be pretty exciting. Javonte Williams is interesting because it looks like he's going to start the year not on the pup. He's seen his ADP rise significantly.
He actually practiced today, which I was kind of shocked to see.
Javonte's back, man. And I think the people need to kind of temper their expectations a little bit. But I think that all signs are pointing that he'll be playing week 1. And that's an offense that needs playmakers. So right now we're 4 away, Billy. I have Hollywood, Michael Pittman, Javonte Williams, James Conner. There's not a whole lot of edge there. Is there anybody we want to push into this queue right now?
No, we really need to start looking at correlation. Right now we just have this like 6-man parlay going. We need to start 5. We do have Josh Allen in Buffalo, I guess, but
yeah,
we definitely need to start correlating a little bit more. So we got Dallas Chargers, New England. We got to start thinking about. We have Carolina plays Atlanta, Green Bay, Jacksonville, and then we have Chicago who plays.
They play Atlanta,
Cleveland, Arizona, Atlanta. So Arizona makes sense here, but both those guys just went. That sucks.
That does suck. That's the one I had James Conner and Hollywood Brown in the queue. They both went. Billy, I'll throw out one idea is we lean further into Buffalo itself with James Cook.
Yeah, that would work here as well. We could push him up a little bit. That'd be about not a half. It's about a quarter round. He usually goes on the way back, but I don't think we get cute with it. And we just take him probably. So I would actually prefer James Cook over the other guys in the queue because I think there's a real possibility Javonte comes back. And I don't really own Javonte, so I need to start adding him. And
there goes Javonte. It makes it a lot easier.
There you go.
And then we would be passing on Pittman, Evans, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Treylon Burks, Jordan Addison, George Pickens, Jahan Dotson. That would be the sort of wide receivers we would be passing on here.
Yeah, receiver doesn't give us an edge here.
Yeah, and running back competition-wise, like Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, it's gotten pretty dusty pretty quickly. So I think James Cook has the upside, and also we lean into our structure. So I like that pick. We also are kind of able to do a slight half-round reach because we got so much ADP equity with Allen, Diggs, Gibbs, and Brown, and more. So this is the first time we've had to reach. Everybody else has been falling into our laps.
Yeah, and we can actually get some really easy late correlation with New England. So we could look at, adding Devontae Parker. We could look at adding Juju Smith-Schuster. We could look at adding Gesicki to further lean into the Week 17 correlation. And that would kind of clean up a lot of our correlation that we're lacking right now because all we really have is Buffalo. And then we could look at, a secondary stack. So Philly has Arizona Week 17. We have Detroit, who has Dallas Week 17. So we could start looking at these other correlations and getting, ancillary pieces here to get ourselves a little bit more correlation, but we don't necessarily have to. We could just lean into Buffalo and then lean into their shootout schedule and just add pieces along the way. I don't think you have to necessarily push players up that much to add correlation, although I think correlation is nice and it definitely gives yourself a better chance to beat the field when you get down to shootout schedules. But nonetheless, I don't think you don't want to put yourself in a bind.
I agree with you. I think there's a certain point where you have to measure correlation versus best available. I will say if we want to lean into some correlation here as a pure correlation play, Dak Prescott in Week 17, Detroit, Dallas, that would be the Dallas exposure we'd have left. If not, I think it's clearly a wide receiver here, and we just take the best available player among Pittman, Dotson, Pickens.
Yeah, this is late. This is like a full round late for Pittman. So
let's take Pittman.
I think we take him. I don't own a lot of them, but if I'm going to own him, this is going to be the spot.
He's gotten really beat up lately. I mean, the guy has done nothing but catch passes since he came into the league. Last year, he was steamed up to being drafted as a wide receiver 1, and the catches were there, but he didn't have enough touchdowns to kind of support it. But he certainly caught a lot of balls, saw a lot of targets. And again, we don't know how this offense is going to be. I think that there's a lot of unknown with Indianapolis. Like, we think that all the pass catchers are going to take a big step back. I certainly don't think Jonathan Taylor has a path to returning anything as a receiver. But I do think there's a chance that Richardson has tunnel vision for Pittman, and he ends up becoming one of these like money zone guys that hit. Like he's going in a similar range as we saw Lockett and Amari Cooper go last year, a similar range as Christian Kirk was going in last year. And we've seen guys, big ADP hits out of that range. So I'm not ready to bury Pittman, especially when we get him in the 8th round like we just did.
Speaking of burying, Jackson Smith-Njigba's ADP has been burying. He used to go as like wide receiver 30-ish in these drafts, and as of late, he's been going as wide receiver 40, closer to wide receiver 40 than wide receiver 30. What do you think's causing his ADP to dip?
I think Billy Muzio. I think Billy Muzio has been such a strong ranker the last few years that I think he's swayed the entire market. Billy Muzio could have a burner handle on Underdog, like Philly Muzio, and he's in there just drafting JSN, drafting away. So I don't know. I think that it's people are scared of the target competition.
Real concern.
I think, there's a legitimate concern there, and I also think that the FFPC drafter is different than the Underdog drafter. I think the Underdog drafter, it's more entry tournament. People are a little more apt to gamble when you are putting a $5 or $25 entry in or a $3 entry in. So like the Underdog ADPs are not always in line with this $125 tournament. The $125 tournaments here on FFPC, you're seeing people mass enter them, and you're seeing a lot of the names that you're going to be drafting against in main events. There's a lot of sharp money. And I think, Billy, people are more likely to lean into JSN when you have potential correlation with Geno. I don't know. It's Geno I've also seen slipping slightly, where like Geno and Daniel Jones are both seem to be going as like high-end QB2s. You don't see them getting pushed into the – it's kind of like the gap between Deshaun Watson and the rest of the quarterbacks seems to be widening right now. Is that how you're reading it?
Yeah, Watson's kind of tapering off a little bit. Lawrence has been climbing a bit. Lawrence kind of goes all over the place though. I got Lawrence the other day at like the 7-3, but he's typically goes in the 6th round. Herbert's the other one that's kind of been all over the place. Herbert goes sometimes as QB4. He goes sometimes as QB6 or 7. QB room is funny this year, man. But after Watson, it kind of drops off, and we usually have a good round or even 2 sometimes of no quarterbacks being selected.
So we are several picks away right now. We're about to pick at the 9-10. Enter the Dragon. The wild card just took Romeo Dubs.
Dude, so this guy, man.
Romeo Dubs before Jahan Dotson is something. Romeo Dubs ahead of Jordan Addison is something. It's something interesting. I'm going to say this to you. This seems like a very good spot for us to create correlation here, Billy. We have game correlation with Dak Prescott and Jahmyr Gibbs at the 9-10. Dak Prescott. Yep. We also have the unknown upside of Anthony Richardson with Michael Pittman, which would be pretty interesting to throw in there. And I'll throw Jordan Addison in the queue here just based on value, lack of correlation, but value. Those guys kind of stand out to me. It's also an interesting time for tight end 2s, and I'll throw my guy, Dalton Kincaid, into consideration to lean on this Buffalo stack a little bit more.
Yeah, I think they're all in play here. The other one who's just a pure speculative play that I just added to the queue is Dalvin Cook. Yep. At this point, it's just because it's so damn late. I mean, he has been slipping, and I know that there's a lot of reasons why, but there's not very many round 9 shares right now in the tournament with Dalvin Cook. It looks like there's maybe a handful, and at this point, we're getting him almost in round 10, which there's only 1 share in round 10 in the entire tournament. If he makes it all the way down to us, it might be hard to pass him, quite frankly.
I will say that if we want him, he's not going to make it to 10:03 because Tango and Cash and Tyler Bucher, they have each have 2 picks ahead of us. They're going to take Dalvin Cook there. Just looking at their builds, I mean Tyler has only 2 running backs selected, and Tango and Cash has only 2 running backs selected. So
this is really late for Addison too, though.
Yeah. So
Addison just went. Okay.
Yeah, Team 8 got JSN and Addison back to back, both rookie wide receivers.
Yeah, that's that's like almost 2 rounds of value on Addison. Jesus.
Okay, so let's quickly look at this. Quarterback wise, where is team 11 and 12 at?
They have one quarterback in the 11 hole. Tango Cash has a quarterback. 12 does not have a quarterback, but there's Kirk Cousins there. He has Lamb, so he'll probably take Dak. So Dak will probably be gone. So I'm fine. I mean, we only have Jahmyr Gibbs to lean into that correlation. I think I'd rather go with the player here because if Cook lands anywhere,
So I'm with you.
He's going to be going at around 7.
I'm
6.
with you, and I think that any way you cut it, we're going to get some sort of correlation at 10:03.
Yeah,
so
let's take Dalvin Cook. Yeah, this is late.
Okay, so we took Dalvin Cook. This was kind of a free pick for us. And Billy, at the end of the day, I don't mind having naked Jahmyr Gibbs, naked Dalvin Cook. If we don't get the correlation, we don't get the correlation.
No, and there was 2 other players that we like. There's 2 quarterbacks that we like in the queue right now. I don't like Anthony Richardson, but we have the correlation. And so more than likely, Tyler takes Dak here on the end because he has the CeeDee Lamb stack. I doubt that he takes Anthony Richardson as well. Well, he took McKinnon. Let's see if he takes Dak as well.
That's a super interesting pick.
Oh, he passed on Dak. Wow.
So Dak
Metcalf.
Listen, like at the end of the day, Josh Allen's going to be most of our startable weeks are going to be Josh Allen weeks. But at the end of the day, that Dak Jahmyr Gibbs game, you don't have any weather concerns. And I do think that there is some backdoor Dallas correlation we can build.
We can add
Laporta, Michael Gallup.
Laporta
would be a really nice part of this build. So I would lean Dak over Richardson.
Me too.
Here.
Yeah, it's not even close for me.
Passing on Kincaid, like we already have. Kincaid's also an interesting argument here. I love Kincaid, but any way you cut it, to have a little more exposure to the Buffalo, attack with James Cook, Stefon Diggs, Josh Allen, and Kincaid. How many mega stacks are there? We're not enough time. Tango Cash took Gerald Everett too. This is interesting.
I think we take Dak here. We finish our quarterback. We're done with quarterback. That gives us an edge at quarterback, an edge at running back, an edge at receiver. We're winning at 3 positions now, and then we just need to clean up at tight end. I think we just lock Dak in here and then call it a day at the position.
Done. Let's take Dak Prescott in the 10th round. I think this is fine value. I like it.
It's a full round of value on Dak Prescott too.
So just to recap our team, for anybody listening on the podcast and not watching on YouTube, Stefon Diggs and A.J. Brown at the 10 and the 203. Josh Allen at the 310. Jahmyr Gibbs at the 403. We went Miles Sanders. That pick gave us a little bit of pause. It was Miles Sanders or DJ Moore, and we went Miles Sanders, and DJ Moore comes all the way back to us at the 603. James Cook at the 710. Slight reach to add into the Buffalo correlation stack. Then in the 8th round, we took Michael Pittman at the 803. Dalvin Cook was our wild card pick. He fell to us at the 910. Then we just took Dak Prescott in the 10th round as our quarterback 2, giving us exposure to a potentially high-scoring Detroit-Dallas game in Week 17. So right now, structurally, through 10 rounds, Billy, you are at 4 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, and 4 wide receivers. It's crossover week. We have the Thanos father for Matt Kelly. So it's a Thanos line, perfectly balanced, as all things should be. We're very good. And at the end of the day, Billy, in this sort of a tournament, the running back spot, how fragile would you want to get with this group? Because I feel really good about Gibbs and Sanders, but Cook and Cook both have a little bit of potential usage concerns. So I don't think we can get quite as fragile as I would like.
Yeah, we could go 5, I think, and be done.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go 6 with this team, and I probably wouldn't go 4 just based upon Cook and Cook's usage right now being uncertain. If we knew where Dalvin was at, I think you could potentially go a 4-man running back build here, but I typically don't like to go 4 in a 20-man draft. 18, it becomes more frequent where you can get 4 earlier backs and stick to 4 builds and go hyper fragile. But with the 20 rounds, it gives us the ability to add a fifth and not really do any damage to the roster construction outside of the running back position. So I think 5 is probably the happy number here with this team. And I wouldn't mind that fifth being late, right? We could look at someone even in the rounds like 16, 17, 18, just kind of a moonshot pick, right? Or someone that may have a role, but it's not going to be a massive role. I'm fine with. I think we need to start either looking at tight end here shortly. Well, there was Laporta even early. Of course, Into the Dragon pushes him up, 2 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, like I tight end will be able to make up for it, but I think we're almost pot committed to taking one here at the 11-10.
Yeah, maybe it could be a receiver too.
It could be.
Yeah, I think we don't want to get behind at receiver either. And looking now that Laporta went off the board, if Cole Kmet's gone and Dalton Kincaid, of course, if those two are gone, or I guess Chigo's still there too. If one of those 3 is still there, I think tight end's the pick. But if those 3 are gone, it would be hard to take a tight end at the first pick.
Yeah, I'm with you. We certainly don't want to reach on a tight end. Kincaid would be an auto selection for us. We're kind of pot committed to at least one wide receiver at this turn.
I agree.
I like Nico Collins. I like Jacoby Myers. I know that you brought up Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm not as into him as those other 2 that are behind
I'm not
him.
as into him either with that. It would be a pure correlation play.
Yeah. So I think we lean off of correlation. I think like we talked about it on, gosh, Billy, we've been doing so many podcasts over the last week. It's wild, but I think it was a first-class fantasy where, this might not have been first-class fantasy, but Jacoby Myers is interesting because he's being pushed down in a lot of these drafts. But if Hunter Renfrow is moved, then Jacoby Myers is going to jump like 2 rounds because.
Yep, I agree.
So I'm all about Jacoby.
And Vegas has correlation with who is it? They have correlation with Indianapolis week 17. So
yep. So we also can consider Michael Mayer later.
If we get past these next 2 teams with tight end, we're going to get someone we like because Team 8 has 2 and Team 9 has 2 already. So keep your fingers crossed.
I might get my boy Dalton Kincaid. We might get Chigo. That would be a really, really nice outcome here at the 11-10.
Kincaid would be great with this team with our Buffalo build.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think, like we've talked about, our reaction was, I think, the correct one. There goes Chig. So we're really at 1 tight end here.
There he goes.
Kincaid. So, Billy, I think we're ideal. I mean, I'll take Jacoby Myers and Nico Collins on this next turn and be happy about it and punt tight end even another round.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that too as well because we might get Gesicki on the way back to the next one even.
So let's game theory this. The ultimate way of drafting we want there goes Jacoby Myers.
There goes Jacoby Myers.
So this is kind of a little bit of a mess. Let's lock in Nico Collins and talk this out.
Yeah, we could lock in Nico. Hold up. Let me just look around.
Rondale Moore has correlation with the Philadelphia game with A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
But I think Nico Collins is almost a no-brainer. I think that he's...
Yeah, you and I both like Nico. I think Nico's the pick.
Let's take Nico. I'm at 26% Nico Collins on underdog. So I'm
about 13% in this tournament.
Yeah, so I like Nico a lot right now. And he gives us a wide receiver 5. So we still need to keep playing catch up here at wideout, but at least we get a little bit of Nico. I'm going to throw Odell in the queue, naked Odell, because I think he's going to have some usable weeks. Obviously, and Rondale Moore we would be reaching for slightly, but I think he's fine. Are there any other wide receivers you want to throw into consideration here? I don't really see one. I think that this would be a little high for Zay. It would be a little high for Tyler Boyd. I'll throw Darnell Mooney into consideration because we have DJ Moore, but I don't feel great about it. So we're one pick away. We also could take a 5th running back here. We like Jalen Warren, and he's sitting right here. I don't know if it's an edge pick, though. And I'll say Tank Bigsby, if you're going to go for a swing for the fences, is one of the best handcuffs right now because if Travis Etienne misses time, Tank Bigsby could be a top 15 play weekly, and he can catch the ball. So I'll just throw his name out there with Jalen Warren. But more likely than not, I think I think we should take another wide receiver. Where you at?
Yeah, for me, it's probably either I own so much Rondale, I think I want to pass on him here.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't really like Odell this year. I'm just not sold that he's going to do much. We could take some because I don't own any. Juju has correlation. I'm kind of leaning that way right now. We could go Mike Gesicki with correlation as well and also fill the tight end spot. I don't think he's coming back now that I've seen the board a little bit more.
The board has gone tight end crazy. Does Gesicki have enough spike weeks in there that he's going to be worth for this pick? Because
he could be the second option in the passing game there on a week-to-week basis.
We would be sacrificing. The other idea would be we could take Gesicki and take Henry quite late. And I know it's odd. Your call here, Billy. I'm going to defer to you on this pick.
Let's take Juju. It fits both. It gets us a receiver, and then it also gets us correlation. And I don't own a lot of Juju. Sean Corner just told us to draft Juju. We should just draft Juju.
Listen, I'm okay. It's a very boring pick, but sometimes those boring picks really, really pay off. And immediately you see Adam Thielen go immediately after Juju. Like, you're going to start seeing wide receiver get completely cleaned up. I do think Jalen Warren made some sense. But again, it's a structural lean. We still need to play catch up at wide receiver. And I don't mind dumpster diving at tight end and catching up at tight end through sheer volume because, again, we're done at quarterback. So we don't have to play any catch up at quarterback. And running back, we really only need one more. If we go too long, though, Billy, you might be a 6 running back build.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, I'm pretty comfortable with these 4. There's, Tajay Spears out there still. There's still Tank Bigsby, Tyler Algier. Those guys are probably gone by the time it comes back. You got Devin Singletary, who I'd be very comfortable with.
I agree.
You have Kenneth Gainwell, who would add to correlation with our A.J. Brown, which I'm comfortable with. Jerome Ford, I'm comfortable with as well.
I like the Gainwell call. And I like the Devin Singletary call. I think both those guys are underrated, and for our build, they make a lot of sense because I think they're gonna have usable weeks, and we also get the Singletary, Nico Collins correlation, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw Dawson Knox, Trey McBride in the queue for the way back, like round 14.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It tight end continues to just go. It's just being hammered right now, but
yeah, and
this will probably be a 4-man build with tight end.
You always, like, for some of these FFPC drafts, tight end can go all over the place. I really don't mind dumpster diving in these best ball streets. Like, I like Isaiah Likely late a lot. He had nearly 40 catches last year, had a big playoff game, and I think that there's going to be usable weeks with him. And in a best ball format, I don't have to worry about when to start him. But I think at the end of the day, Billy, you bring up the fact you don't love Odell Beckham. We think Rashad Bateman can't stay on the field. Zay Flowers, I really, really, really like. I love the talent of Bateman if he's out there. But at the end of the day, if they're going to be a pass-happy team and you're doing some self-scouting, like Isaiah Likely is going to be on the field, and you saw how much success 2 tight ends had at Georgia under Monken. Like, I think Isaiah Likely's underrated. We have Dak, so Jake Ferguson makes some sense. There's a lot of late tight ends that I think we can lean into where I'm not scared of going with like a 4 tight end build, late tight ends, and playing catch up. I think some people get scared off of that in FFPC, but sometimes these middle class tight ends, they get a little bit overrated, and especially when there's a tight end run, you end up screwing your team up by just reaching.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely think this would probably be a 4-man tight end build. By the way, it's shaping up, but I'm fine with doing 4 late. Like, I like Trey McBride late. I like Hayden Hurst late. I like Jelani Woods late. I like Noah Fant, Hunter Henry, and Isaiah Likely late. I mean, we could even throw Jake Ferguson's name in the hat here with the Dallas correlation. There's a lot that we can do at tight end still.
I threw Alec Pierce and Josh Downs into the queue. You mentioned Jelani Woods. I'm throwing him into the queue. Lean into the Indianapolis pass catchers just because they're so cheap. And we have Michael Pittman. If we had a secondary pass catcher, I wouldn't mind it. Alec Pierce is kind of interesting.
I erased downs from the queue. We're not taking downs.
Okay, so don't take down. This was and again, Billy, this was a super, 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 super late suggestion. But Alex Pierce, I think, is interesting. If betting on Pittman and Pierce, I think they're both a little bit underrated right now. Pierce is a hyper athlete that can get downfield. Maybe the scrambling ability of Anthony Richardson opens him up for some big games. I would not advocate having a lot of Pierce in redraft, but in best ball, he's really fun. There goes Darnell Mooney. Mike Gesicki's auto pick for us if he's here. We're 2 picks away. Gesicki would be the pick. If Gesicki is selected here, I'm kind of open. I wouldn't mind, making sure we got that Gainwell.
There we go. Lock it in.
Let's go. It's Gesicki time. Let's
That's
lock
an
in
easy pick.
Gesicki
It worked.
as our
It worked
tight end
out.
1. We get a little more New England correlation. I will put in Gesicki for us. Drafted him. Okay, so now we're kind of open in this pick. I have Kendre Miller, Kenneth Gainwell, Jerome Ford, and then Dawson Knox makes some sense here, Billy, if you eschew running back. But the good thing about these running backs is it ends our running back build. I kind of like the Gainwell idea. You get Gainwell to go with A.J. Brown in a potential money week situation. And down the stretch, you talk about DeAndre Swift has missed time. Rashad Penny's missed a ton of time.
Yeah.
Gainwell could be a guy who gets 5 starts this year. There goes Deneric Prince, slightly higher to Tango and Cash. He's an interesting player right now. But Kendre Miller just goes out of our queue. I'm leaning Gainwell, but I'm open to going Dawson Knox here, Billy, if you want to lean into our Buffalo stack and get our tight end too.
I lean Gainwell as well, I think.
Let's take Gainwell. I think Gainwell makes us the most dangerous if he's here at the 1403.
Yeah, Knox has the potential to come back.
Okay, so we're going to take Kenneth Gainwell. We're done completely at running back now. Unless some extraordinary value presents itself in like the 18th or 19th round, we're done at running back.
Yep.
Okay, so just to recap our team for the listening audience, right now we're at 2 QBs, Josh Allen and Dak Prescott, Jahmyr Gibbs, Miles Sanders, James Cook, Dalvin Cook, and Kenneth Gainwell should complete our running back build. We are a 5 running back build team. Stefon Diggs, A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, Nico Collins, and Juju Smith-Schuster give us 6 running backs right now, and then our first tight end off the board is Mike Gesicki. Billy, how are you feeling about this build as we head into the 15th round?
Overall, okay. It's not my favorite team, but I think it's solid. I think it lacks like ceiling upside, but I think that I think it'll be pretty solid overall.
Yeah, this is the kind of team that I think can advance out of this particular league. Mm-hmm. And I think that's half the battle. We've done enough that I think we're in a decent spot for that. But I don't know if it has the extreme upside where I think this could do like a lot of damage deep into the postseason. But at the end of the day, Billy, all I got to do is get in there and, we'll see where the chips fall. And we still have a few rounds to make us like our team a little bit more. And I think the beautiful thing is I think a lot of these teams have taken tight ends, and maybe they're going to play a little more catch up here at running back where we're done at running back. We can specifically look at tight end and wide receiver the rest of the way and just keep like a watchful eye on running back to see if somebody falls.
Yeah, there's still a couple teams that have one quarterback as well, so they should start to hit the quarterback position probably, and it'll push the other positional players down our way as well. Damn, that was the other player I wanted to keep my eye on that I was just forgot to put in the queue was Rashee Rice there. He's been climbing.
Yeah, Rashee Rice has gotten some positive buzz out of camp, and you have, the Kadarius Toney nonsense. Time is a flat circle when it comes to Kadarius Toney. You get a little bit of people getting excited, and then, there's a step back. It happens over and over and over again. Right now we're at the 14-11. We pick at the 15-10. In our queue we still have 2 running backs in the queue, Jerome Ford and Zamir White. Interesting handcuffs. And also the correlation with that Vegas-Indianapolis game, especially if there's a quiet quitting situation, if Josh Jacobs gets jammed on the contract, Billy, and maybe he plays a little less games this year. I have Rashid Shaheed in the queue. I have Alec Pierce in the queue. second-year wide receivers with some upside. I think they're a little underrated right now. I'm going to throw your guy DJ Shark in the queue. I see you put Isaiah Hodgins and Hayden Hurst. So we have some Carolina correlation we can lean into. I think that would go very well.
I threw Mingo in as well.
Yeah, Mingo makes some sense. I saw DPJ
throwing likely in the queue.
I'll give you a hat tip to getting me so into DPJ this week, but I think you were right on a DPJ being a guy that we should be drafting until there's certainty with the Amari Cooper situation. I believe in the talent. I took him in main event. I've taken him in the 350 with the GOAT District, and I've taken him on underdog a bunch. I mean, he's a fun player in best ball. Like
he also had a lot of just not correlation, but he just had he connected with Deshaun Watson last year. Like when Watson came in, it seemed like DPJ was his preferred target over Amari Cooper because Amari Cooper had a great start to the season with Brissett, but as soon as that quarterback change happened, Donovan Peoples-Jones was like wide receiver 35 or better every single week. He was kind of sneaky, honestly.
Yeah, it's interesting. You think back to, I think like the bull argument is a Will Fuller-like player, a deep threat who can get downfield and do some things. And DPJ certainly does have that athleticism. In that season where Will Fuller had his suspension, he was absolutely crushing it. And I think that's obviously a tough bar for DPJ to get to. But I think that last year he was also a little bit unlucky with the touchdowns. There goes Jake Ferguson, which was kind of a kick in the nuts type selection.
God, there's just picks going all over the board tonight. It's kind of weird. Like Ferguson's usually like a round 17 draft pick. Like Michael Mayer, the guy like Enter the Dragon, the FADP guy, took Mayer and at like round 12, and Mayer goes in like round 16. Like I just there's just shits all over the board tonight.
Yeah,
it's really messing with me actually because I'm so used to seeing the board in certain ways, and this is just all over the place here now.
Speaking of board, I'm looking at too many things. I've got to adjust our view for the audience so they can see. So I'm cutting off the first round. I'm going to take us to.
We're 2 picks away from Dawson Knox making it all the way back to us.
Dawson Knox will be an auto pick unless somebody wants to, not be cool and snipe him. He would be a great pick for us.
Both these guys have 2 tight ends, so it'd be their third tight end, and they both have early tight ends, so it's unlikely. It would be probably a block play if they do it.
It's a block play, but you see stack blockers all the time. Not as much in the FFPC. There's certain.
Okay,
so there goes Jerome Ford.
This guy needs running back too, so like he should absolutely go running back here. He's got 2.5 right now.
So Dawson Knox would be a slam dunk pick for us.
He took Stroud. Right. Okay,
Easy one. Awesome. Dawson Knox.
Remember we said when the game was said we have a chance to get Dawson Knox on the way back. So there it is.
You played it right, Billy. You read it. You read it correctly, and we've played a little bit of catch up here at tight end. Certainly,
we've actually cleaned up pretty nicely already.
Yeah,
like I think if we take like Taysom Hill or Likely on the way back, or even Jelani Woods, like Jelani deepens our correlation with Pittman too. Or do you want a receiver?
Tyquan Thornton and Devontae Parker as late rounds considerations. Like you're off, Tyquan?
I don't think you can be on Tyquan if you have never been on Tyquan.
Well, that's a very, very deep answer, Billy. I'll say for wide receiver, Rashid Shaheed looks pretty good to me right here. Isaiah Likely, I told you I like. Jelani Woods is in our queue for correlation.
Shaheed just went.
Tango and Cash is a known FFPC drafter, and they just sniped Rashid Shaheed. So very good pick by Tango and Cash. Shout out to those guys if they listen in. I'm open here, Billy.
I think it's Jelani Woods for me. I don't really see a receiver I have to have that's really going to do much to our build. We have 6 right now? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 6 right now. There's more late than I like.
I'm fine with Jelani Woods. I mean, I think we're really into wide receiver the next go around, almost bang bang wide receiver.
Yeah, we'd be doubling up wide receiver.
So let's take Jelani Woods right now to give us our tight end 3 and
Okay,
correlation.
go ahead and lock it.
Okay, done. So right now we're pretty much pot committed to wide receivers. I put Khalil Shakir in the queue. DJ Shark is in the queue. I will remove Tyquan Thornton since you don't even want to consider him. But at 20th round, we're talking about Tyquan again.
Yeah, I know. We can leave Tyquan in there. It goes with the correlation. There's a lot of late receivers that I really like this year. And since we're not live, I can mention them. Like, I like Bob Woods has been going in around 20. I like John Mechie late. I like Curtis Samuel late. MVS has been going late. McCole Hardman's one that he's actually my most owned player right now in all formats.
I love him
FFPC.
too in best ball. I love him. I mean, you talk about like so much dustiness in New York, and Hardman is like the speed guy there. I think he's going to be interesting. I think he'll have like 4 usable weeks and he's free.
Exactly. I mean, and all you really need from around 20 pick is really 2 usable weeks.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty low floor for him. Khalil Shakir goes late, who fits our team really well as well. There's even like sneaky plays. Like you can do like Mac Hollins, who's technically the wide receiver 2 right now in Atlanta. And, you know, if there's an injury to either Pitts or to London, he could have a pretty big role. So there's a lot of receivers who I think have some upside late.
I personally think with this build, we're a 4 tight end build and we're 3 more wide receivers.
Absolutely, yeah. Those are the picks.
So I think we stay open with our 4th tight end. Like I'm going to throw Luke Musgrave in the queue.
Yep, I like Musgrave.
And I really would hope that it's a Musgrave or Likely situation. I like both of them. And then I'll say if it wide receiver keeps presenting itself, Daniel Bellinger in the 20th round, I think is going to become more and more common. There's a lot of smoke out of Giants camp about them running 12 with Waller and Bellinger. You know how Darren Waller is. They're going to use him in wide receiver type sets. Where I think Bellinger is going to be on the field a little bit more than people think. He apparently is, you know, a player that Dable likes, and I think he could have some value in the 20th round. Not my preferred tight end, but that's like my emergency break glass guy.
Yeah, I'd take him late as well too. There's when you have 15 receivers and 13 of them are shit, 14 of them could be shit. Daniel Bellinger makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
There's also Cade Otton who goes pretty late.
Yeah.
Logan Thomas goes pretty late. And Logan Thomas right now is the starting tight end for Washington. So
yep, Logan Thomas. You know, we think back a few years back, and he was helping people win a ton of money. He was on our friend Abib Agbatoba's first Players Championship winning team. The guy ran so pure he won 2 years in a row, but that was his big tight end pickup during the year. That guy was, you know, that year Thomas was a waiver wire guy. Certainly won people a lot of money. Then he got the bag from Washington and has been hurt since. But yeah, he's the tight end in town, and he's certainly like one we could lean into. But for some reason, it's the Isaiah Likely. I just can't keep getting past him though, Billy. I feel like people are just kind of like discounting him based on, you know, the target competition. But he flashed a lot last year, and he played well in the playoff game. I just can't keep getting off of Isaiah Likely. Talking wide receivers here, 17-10, we're a few picks away. Khalil Shakir, MVS, they're both in the queue. I love Marvin Mims here. I think Marvin Mims at the 17-10 would be the one I would lean into just based on a pure talent profile. We're talking about a second-round wide receiver who can fly. I mean, this is exactly the kind of guy that I love drafting in the 17th round, even though we don't have correlation. You talk about usable weeks in the 17th round. I think Mims could give you several of them.
How do you see him landing on the field? He's got an athletic tight end ahead of him. Tim Patrick has been a preferred target for Russell Wilson. They also have Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. What do you think his role is going to look like?
Well, he's got contingent upside. If any of those guys miss time, you've seen those guys miss time. I mean, it's been something that you've seen from all 3 of those guys. And it's also a team finishing dead last in points per game. They add a super, super fast wide receiver. They move up to get him. And again, he went in the second round. So I don't think they would they're not a good enough team that they can, take luxury picks. Like you talk about Seattle with JSN. I think it's appropriate that he's a better dynasty pick than he is a redraft pick. And Seattle had the luxury of taking him as a Tyler Lockett replacement. I don't think Denver's quite at that luxury level. To me, I just think Mims is going to find a way to force himself into the situation. But yeah, there's a lot of pass catchers. But at the end of the day, those pass catchers were not doing it last year. Mims is Sean Payton's first draft pick, and I certainly believe in the talent. It's a little bit of dynasty mindset, but at the end of the day, if you tell me I can take a Mims or a MVS or try to force up a correlation, like I like the idea of taking Mims. I'm sure you don't have a whole lot of them either, Billy, and 1710 is pretty low for him.
Likely made it back to us. Want to take Likely?
I'm down with Likely. Likely's a good pick here, and then I would pound the table for Mims in the 18th round.
And then we're all receivers from there.
Yeah, agreed. So let's take Likely here, and we're done at tight end. And I think we recovered very nicely.
I do too.
You have the correlation plays with Gesicki and Dawson Knox. Jelani Wood gives us a correlation play, and then Isaiah Likely just is guy's a baller. At the end of the day, the tape doesn't lie. At the end of the day, if you have eyes, you can see Isaiah Likely is able to separate and get open on an NFL field. I don't know how he does it, Billy. He's not that fast. He's like a big, shifty wide receiver with tight end eligibility.
I'm so happy Mims went right after.
Well, I think, at the end of the day, okay, so which way do you want to – right now, wide receiver-wise –
I think we push Khalil Shakir up. It'd be half a round pushing him up, but it makes so much sense with the team.
Yeah, I think it's almost a no-brainer. A second-year player. Shakir had like 2 decent weeks last year and kind of left a lot to be desired. But you think about guys taking a step forward in year 2, maybe they trust him a little bit more. And I think that the competition for wide receiver 3 is a little bit overrated. Like people think about like the guys like Sherfield coming in there and challenging Shakir. I don't know. I think Shakir for me is the one if you're going to bet on a third wide receiver in Buffalo. So let's take Shakir unless Tango and Cash takes him. Okay, so it's Shakir, no brainer. Let's lock him in.
And then on the way back, we got McCole Hardman. We got did Parker go? I think he went.
Parker went.
Yeah,
Parker went.
He went a little higher than he's usually around 18, but there we go.
Let's also keep like a little bit of an eye on the other positions here, Billy, just because like we've covered up pretty well. Yep. I think ideally it's wide receiver, but if somebody value-wise presents themselves, let's consider it.
Yeah, we got 7 receivers right now.
I threw Darius Slayton into the queue. I think he's interesting. He gave us a number of usable weeks last year, and we talk about how all the Giants wide receivers are very similar. Darius Slayton's different, and he had success last year. So
yeah, he's the deep threat.
Yeah, let's put him in there.
Mechie I put in there just now.
Yep. And 20th round, Josh Downs. No, we're not going to do that to you. Let's see. Wide receiver. There's no one that like really, really, really stands out at running back. I'll say this. Based on our build, 20th round Pierre Strong, where people are all expecting a veteran to sign there. I think a veteran's going to sign in New England too, Billy. But if a veteran doesn't sign,
yeah, he's got upside and it matches the team. I wouldn't be opposed to it.
20th round Pierre Strong makes slight sense. I don't see another running back to throw in there. I would love to draft Keontae Ingram. I draft him on every single team. We do actually have a little correlation with Keontae Ingram with the Philadelphia.
I own quite a bit of Keontae. I think he's a great pick in the 20th round.
Okay, so we have 2 running backs in there, and then wide receiver-wise, Robert Woods, John Mechie, Darius Slayton, Tyquan Thornton. I don't think we're missing a wide receiver right now. I'm trying to think I'm looking through the available wide receivers. There's nobody that I'm like just pounding the table for. When you go deeper down the list, there's nobody that really stands out to me as like a really sneaky play there. I think we're pretty good with who the guys in our queue. We are.
I think we'll get 2 of those guys pretty easily.
Yeah, so that's good. I think we're good. So just recapping our team before we select, we are at Josh Allen and Dak Prescott as our 2 quarterbacks, Jahmyr Gibbs, Miles Sanders, James Cook, Dalvin Cook, Kenneth Gainwell as our 5 running backs, Stefon Diggs, A.J. Brown, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, Nico Collins, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Khalil Shakir as our wide receivers. And we are a 4 tight end build with no tight end selected until the 13-10 with Mike Gesicki, followed up by Dawson Knox, Jelani Woods, and Isaiah Likely. I like the team, Billy. I think we've caught up well in the back half, and we have enough outs with this team. We're going to close it off with 2 strong selections here. We're in good shape.
Did anything happen to Mechie today? I haven't been on the computer much, but he's usually around 17 pick. He's still on the board. Camp started today. I didn't see any news from today.
No.
The only thing, he actually practiced and made camp today. He should have. Why is he still on the board?
He was cleared today, and he practiced.
Yeah, he practiced. So you think he'd climb?
Yeah, so I think Mechie would be the preferred selection here at the 19-10. Bobby Woods went off the board anyway. Wide receivers very dry here. Mechie, Slayton, and Thornton are our only 3 guys in the queue. And I don't really want to draft any of the other wide receivers available, Billy. I think that let's take Mechie. If Mechie gets selected, then who's the wide receiver we're taking here?
If Mechie gets...
Then we lean into Slayton, I think.
Yeah, we could go Slayton. It gets pretty disgusting from there. You could go Palmer. Palmer has correlation with Buffalo in week 16.
Tyquan in the 20th, though, makes a lot of sense here.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Pierre Strong. If Mechie goes,
there goes Mechie.
Okay.
It made no sense why he was still on the board. He should have been gone 2 rounds ago.
That's great value there. So I will say this. Pierre Strong in the 19-10 gives us another New England correlation play. We could get Pierre Strong in the 19-10 and Tyquan Thornton in the 20th and really lean into that. We could also take Keontae Ingram with one of those 2 selections. Gosh, this is gross. I mean, I'm a Tyquan Thornton sucker.
Thornton goes like around 18 usually. This is a discount. We could go Thornton. Let's go Thornton and Strong and lean into it. We might as well.
Let's do it. So let's take Tyquan Thornton here. Or do we game theory this one, Billy? Do we take Pierre Strong first and Thornton second? Or do we make sure we get the wide receiver? I think we make sure we get the wide out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 running backs in the 12 hole. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 running backs in the 11 hole. They need a receiver in the 11 hole. Let's go Thornton.
Let's go Thornton. Okay, so we took Tyquan Thornton.
Because we have Keontae Ingram as our secondary that we like on the way back.
Yeah, so we have 2 running backs in our queue, and we have Darius Slayton as our 20th round finisher. There is nobody else to consider. I'm looking at the board right now. I think those 3 guys make sense. We're 4 picks away from selecting, and Justin Ross just went. So we have 1 more bullet to dodge. And then
I don't think he goes running back. 1, 2. He's got 3 tight ends, 2 quarterbacks. He needs receiver. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 receiver. He has to go receiver. He's going to go Slayton and Terrace Marshall.
All right, let's do it.
There's Keontae Ingram.
Tyler, big shout out to you, Tyler. There goes Josh Reynolds. Okay, so we are going to be a Pierre Strong in the 20th round team, Billy, which might be a dead pick. But you run that risk with a lot of these 20th round pick guys.
Yes.
Pierre Strong can boogie, though. I hope he gets an opportunity. I mean, you talk about a guy with elite speed, and, he's an interesting player. If there weren't the Dalvin Cook rumors right now, Pierre Strong would be going about 2 rounds higher.
Maybe 3 rounds or 4 rounds. He was climbing.
Yeah, I was drafting the hell out of him. Okay, so it's Pierre Strong time.
Done.
Okay, so our team is in the books. This was a lot of fun. We are going to be, when you're watching this stream live, this is actually, it's a pre-recorded draft, but we didn't want to get sniped, so it made some sense here. Billy, thoughts on our team? We've read it out completely, but just to I'll give you one more time. Stefon Diggs at the 110, A.J. Brown 2nd round, Josh Allen in the 3rd round, Jahmyr Gibbs fell to us at the 403, Miles Sanders and DJ Moore in the 5th and 6th. Leaned into Buffalo with James Cook. Michael Pittman at the 803. Dalvin Cook, the exceptional value potential at the 9-10. Dak Prescott in the 10th round. Nico Collins and Juju Smith-Schuster in the 11th and 12th. Mike Gesicki, Kenneth Gainwell, Dawson Knox, Jelani Woods, and Isaiah Likely. We took 4 tight ends in 5 rounds to make up for it. Then we finish off our draft with Khalil Shakir, giving us another Buffalo wide receiver, and 2 more New England Patriots in Tyquan Thornton and Pierre Strong. Billy, thoughts?
It's a B.
It's a B?
It's a B. I'm not crazy about it. Although there's a lot of outs, right? If Juju can produce as the slot receiver there and stay healthy, I think that's going to be a big key with this team as our 6th receiver. We need to know what happens with Pittman and of course the quarterback situation in Indianapolis. I would prefer if it was not Richardson to start the season, because I think that he'll have a better connection with Minshew, who's actually above average pocket passer. So I think that would be better for Michael Pittman's stock, quite frankly. Richardson, I'd have some concerns with Pittman, but I think that those 2 picks are going to really kind of heavily determine what our receiver room is going to look like, because we can't really lean on Khalil Shakir or Tyquan Thornton any week. Nico Collins, as much as I like him, has been pretty inconsistent in his career so far. So we really only have 3 receivers that I'm really lean on and trust with this build here. So I'm a little, I think we're a little light on right. I would have liked to have gone 10 receivers or 9 receivers. Did we get 9 in here? 1, 2, 6, 7, 8, right?
Yeah, we're light. We're light on wideout, and I think if you're going to play kind of devil's advocate picks, potentially not selecting Dak Prescott
and going Cortland Sutton
or Sutton or Jamison Williams or pushing up a Jacoby Myers, you might like your build better, because some of these the 14th round on, there was a lot of quarterbacks we could have kind of leaned into. But I will say, Billy, if we get carried by Josh Allen all season long, and then we get a situation where Detroit and Dallas are in a big shootout to end the year, and Dak Prescott and Jahmyr Gibbs are going nuts, that's kind of the out. I will say we're very pot committed to Stefon Diggs and A.J. Brown. But again, you're usually kind of somewhat pot committed to your first 2 round picks in this sort of a format. So we can't really fumble those ones. They've got to deliver for us. Stefon Diggs has got to continue to be a 17-plus point per game guy, and A.J. Brown needs to return value on ADP. If A.J. finishes as wide receiver 15, it's going to be a major disappointment. But I like some of the things we did. I want to quickly look at our colleague Bradley Stalder's build. I think he did some interesting things, and he has a hyper-fragile running back build. He started out with Travis Kelce, followed up with Tony Pollard. Then he correlated Kelce with Mahomes. He made a very nice
stack is like 60% owned in this tournament. Did you know that?
We've talked about this on First Class Fantasy, how common the Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes stack is.
60% now.
When you use the early capital on Kelce this year, you feel almost like you have to take Mahomes in the 3rd.
Yeah.
And sometimes you see it in the 2nd, Billy, and you're really losing a lot of edge doing it. But at the end of the day, Bradley got unique elsewhere because he went hyper fragile at running back. He goes Christian Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, and Chris Godwin, 4, 5, 6. Takes Alexander Mattison in a spot where I can see it. I don't love Madison, but getting him in the 7th round instead of the 6th round, you at least get a little buffer. Then he gets a high upside Gabe Davis, always a solid, better and best ball guy. Treylon Burks, Jamison Williams. He correlates Jamison Williams with Jared Goff. Then he takes Tyler Algier, Tyler Boyd, Trey McBride, goes with a 3rd QB in Kyler Murray, then follows up with Chuba Hubbard and Dwayne McBride, Curtis Samuel, Michael Wilson, Deontay Hardy. So kind of a weird back half for Bradley, but I like the intention. And then we'll just quickly talk about our friend Tyler Butcher's draft. I like what he did. He got a very good value on Geno Smith, and he went with a Geno Smith, Brock Purdy build. But he's got Geno with Lockett and Metcalf, so I really like what he did there. Tango and Cash did some very good things. Very experienced FFPC drafter. He has a Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert correlation, and he reached to get Gerald Everett to ensure that he got that stack, and he also added Quentin Johnston. So there's some well-built teams in this league. I think people benefited from a couple teams really, really reaching and being a little bit kind of all over the place. So you love to see that. But this was a lot of fun, Billy. I think we got to run it back on a live first class fantasy draft. This was a good time, man.
Yeah, I love Bradley's start. I like his first really 12, 13, 14 picks with Trey McBride. Even honestly, like I think overall, I liked it. I'm not crazy about Michael Wilson or Deontay Hardy. I think Shakir's more that receiver 3. I think Bradley's leans in Deontay Hardy. I think he's a little light at running back though.
Yeah, very light.
Dwayne McBride as your 5th is a little ballsy. Chuba, I like more than most.
He went with not to interrupt you, but he went with the double tap of the Minnesota situation.
Yeah.
But where he did it, it wouldn't be a situation I would love to double tap, because I think that there's it's a wild situation right now. You have a lot of uncertainty, but if he happens to hit on those two guys being the running back 1 and running back 2 in a decent offense, and they don't bring in another player, he could have something there. So it's not the worst double tap there. I mean, you see some people make egregious double taps of 2 running backs situations, but I mean, listen, Bradley understands the nature of the tournament, and he went with a team that was a very a high risk, high reward build.
Yeah, I don't think he needs Kyler with this team, though. I think that's his biggest mistake of the whole draft. I'm fine with every other pick he made. I like his team really. I like his team a lot overall. I would have liked to have probably seen a Jerome Ford there in round 15 over Kyler. That would have given him 6 running backs, and it would have given him another, bullet shot at an upside play with Jerome Ford in case Chubb goes down. And we know that they don't always lean 100% to Chubb anyway, so we know he's going to be involved. Because if you have Patrick Mahomes, you don't need Kyler Murray, and you have Goff here as well. So I get the upside play with Murray and wanting to, potentially shoot for that rushing upside late into the push. And he stacked it with Michael Wilson, but I don't think he needs it with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think if he would have gone Alec Pierce instead of Kyler Murray there, I would have liked his build a lot more. And that's, again, this is the nature of structural best ball builds, where I'm talking about a wide receiver who is wide receiver 68 going ahead of a quarterback who we think is very talented. But at the end of the day, when you spend a 3rd rounder, I think in this sort of a tournament, you're better off becoming a 2 quarterback build. You really, if I start my draft with I'll say Trevor Lawrence is the cutoff line. If it's 6th round for me, I can still be fluid and I can be a 3 quarterback build. But if I'm using that early capital on a quarterback, then I'm a 2 quarterback build automatically. I think that's the best way to play it. I agree with you. I agree with you, Billy, almost completely on that.
Yeah, I think looking at our team, I always like to see what does our lineup going to look like weekly, right? We know Diggs and AJ Brown will slide into our wide receiver spots, Allen our quarterback spots. Then we get 2 running back spots between Gibbs, Sanders, Cook, and Cook. More than likely, one of those guys fills the flex, and then more than likely, DJ Moore or Pittman or another one of those running backs fills the flex. And then, so I like the outs we have. I looking at it again, I like it probably a little bit more than a solid B, maybe a B plus. I'm not crazy about our team though, but overall, I think it has some outs.
Yeah, I think again, we get it so caught up into trying to win the entire tournament, and I think that should be the goal if you're going to enter a best ball tournament. But getting out of your own league and passing through and making that initial money, if you get into the postseason, things change in the postseason. Like we talked about, we leaned into New England. We're going to be one of the only teams with, Tyquan and Pierre Strong and certain really, really dart throw plays there. But the dart throw plays matter when you get a seat at the table. And I think this team has a chance to pass through. So, Billy, I mean, last time we drafted a best ball team, we were standing on our heads. Now we're we did enough to get by. But this was a lot of fun. I'm really excited to host the Dominator. You're going to be watching this on Thursday. Look for the Dominator at noon on Friday with Adam Krautwurst and Mike Shope. We're going to be discussing FFPC high-stakes strategy. Those two guys are really, really, really good at drafting and really, really good guys. Check out also, Billy and I had the honor of hosting Mind of Mansion with Sean Corner today. That was a lot of fun. I got some great feedback from it, but if you didn't see it, make sure you check it out. And check out Billy. Billy went on my podcast, Press Coverage. I didn't get a chance to watch it yet because this week's been wild, Billy. Like, crossover week's been wild. This is my 4th podcast of the day, but it's so much fun, and I think we're doing really, really big things here at Player Profiler. Billy, let everybody know where they can find you.
Of course, Player Profiler on Twitter, FF Museo. I'm done podcasting for the week. I got all my podcasts, 3 of them done before Wednesday. And so it's going to be getting caught up. I got a big office day tomorrow with Player Profiler. So Thursdays and Mondays are my administrative days where I go through and get caught up on emails and projects and contracts. And so there's some big things coming down the pipeline, some new partners that we're excited to announce here coming closer into September that we're going to be working with and partnering with for the NFL season. So we'll be announcing those shortly. I can't announce them yet, but I'm pretty excited about the new partnerships that we have coming up for Player Profiler.
Yeah, and Billy's crushing it behind the scenes. You see him with the content, but a big hat tip to you, Billy, for all the really cool things you're doing.
We have the podcast now. This podcast, everybody, First Class Fantasy, can be found in Sleeper now, which is pretty cool.
Awesome. It's awesome.
The location right now, they're going to be redesigning where that location is, because right now, if you're in your team, you swipe all the way to the right or from the right to the left. The podcast button's over there, and First Class Fantasy pops up in there. But they're going to be redesigning the app, and it's going to be at the bottom of the page, and it's going to be visible at all time podcasts, so you can be able to click it and listen to First Class Fantasy right in your Sleeper app.
Yeah, and join us next week on First Class Fantasy. We have not announced the August slate of guests yet, but we're going to have some bangers. We've really, I think a lot of our episodes are evergreen. Go back and check them out. But if this is your first time, listening to us, we highly recommend that. But August, Billy, we're going to have some really, really good ones. Me and you crushed it, just the 2 of us last week. But we're back to bringing in some really, really big hitters, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Everybody have a wonderful rest of your day. Since this, I was about to say rest of your night, but you're watching this in the afternoon, so I hope you're not going to sleep right after. But thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week on First Class Fantasy.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.